Hello and welcome to another video. In this video I am going to teach you how to create a base design that is impossible to infiltrate. And by infiltrate I don't mean that it is impossible to enter and loot. I mean that, for example, if you have a TNT here, pressure plate, this is a very basic trap that is visible and easily avoidable, but as a simplification it's enough. The important thing is I can disarm the trap, avoid it, or whatever. If I have a giant door here that opens only by throwing one particular item to one particular location, then all I need to do is just take a pickaxe and smash right through the door and I'm in. So I'm going to show you how to create a design that is impossible to avoid. The only way to avoid it is not enter whatever is behind it at all. So what do you need? You will need some observers, you will need some droppers, jungle leaves or any leaves, oak logs, pressure plates, and some building blocks. So as you can see, it's not even resource heavy because all these resources are easily obtainable and quite abundant if you ask me. So here you can see some mock-ups. As you can see, there are observers at the front, leaves, and that's exactly how it's going to work. Now, in case you want to know how this works, simply put, if we have adjacent chains like this, we need the chain blocks to have the same distance from the wood as their adjacent chain. So we need here to have zeros, ones, twos, threes, fours, and fives. The reason for that is, since these distances are the same, it means if I destroy one of the chain blocks, for example here, all that's behind it suddenly gets this wooden block as their new closest, so this gets updated. If I destroy here, then as you can see, this turned from 1 to 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This would be not possible if you had a block that would receive the same, that would be nearest to two wooden blocks at the same time. As you can see, here I have 0 distance, 0 distance, so this is one distance to here and one distance to here. If I destroy this block, the distance to the nearest block is, at the farthest this block is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I destroy this block, then again 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would need to destroy both of these blocks to have distance finally change to this block. So for that reason, if I want to, for example, build a block here and a chain here, and I cannot for some reason build oak here at the behind where it is safe, I need to use the third dimension to equalize so that this is now 1, just like this is 1 and this is 1. Now if I destroy this block, then this chain all gets changed to this. If I destroy these two blocks, then these all will go to this block. Also, we will read the changes only from the furthest block, because if we destroy any chain link, all chain links that are behind the destroyed chain link will change. So since it is absolutely pointless to read these all other, when the last one changed, we will only read the last one link of the chain. So now let's get to some building. This is what I call the universal design. Universal because you can place it anywhere and it will work just fine. The designs for some sky base or base at the bedrock will look differently because the sky base won't need any ceiling and the base at the bedrock will need only small bits of floor, so you can change them. This, however, is what we're going to stick with for now. There are going to be two problems we need to kind of accept. One of them is what we will solve in a minute. This is an observer facing this direction, and this is an observer facing this direction. The problem with this is, of course, that we need to fill the spot. We will fill it in a minute, as I said. And the other problem is there is hardly any space you can shave off. You can shave off this column to make it only one observer here, and of course these extra columns, whatever. But the diagonal needs to stay 4 blocks wide. And the reason is, if we place an observer, a dropper here, we need to have some spot for pressure plates, otherwise it would not work properly. The advantage, however, is that the base is completely symmetrical. Here we have the bottom half, here we have the upper half, and the floor and the ceiling are symmetrical, so it will all look beautiful. The only thing that won't be symmetrical is the interior, but that is kind of expected. Anyway, let's go to the building. First we need to design the floor, and you need to remember that, as you could see the observer activated, so this works. You need to remember that you need to leave 1 block of free space here. The reason is you cannot place pressure plates or redstone dust on top of leaf blocks. So you need a solid block like stone or whatever to place the pressure plate, and then you'll have the redstone dust here. Believe me, I have tried. This is my previous result, and as you can see, there is no space here, and it resulted in me having a leaf block here and having to place a redstone torch. But the problem is I need to have redstone torches all over the perimeter and try to deactivate all those torches at once. Not a good idea. So anyway, back to our small project. Let's continue from this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Since it is symmetrical, I will build only on the left side. So now 2, 3, 4, and now you can see this hole here. This hole, of course, is not a problem, but you need to remember that this is a distance 0, this is distance 0, so this is distance 1, and that is what we do not want. So we need to solve it using an oak block. Now this is distance 0, 2, and we can continue building more blocks. As for this hole, this is the simplest. Simply place a leaf block here and plug the hole using the oak block. The oak block is diagonally, so there are no adjacent blocks that would be interfering with this, or the block would be interfering with. And only with this chain, so we are going to build it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And as you can see, the entire front of the bottom quarter is protected. There are some empty observers, but they do not need to read any leaf input, so you can place just some stone or whatever, and when the stone gets destroyed, then the observer will detect it. This is also great in case some player decides to bomb you with a TNT, because a stone will get blown away, but the observer will survive and live the story, or to tell the story. So now let's go to the upper half. That is, as I said, the same story. So 1, 2, 3. You could theoretically build the roof without the empty space, but there is literally no practical reason to. finish our roof. Let's finish our beautiful castle. And let's plug the hole. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. As you can see, completely symmetrical. And once again, same 3 observers. I could just plug them with some stone. So now let's take a look at the inside. So we need some droppers. We won't build here. So some stone, some pressure plate, and some stone here to block whatever is going to be fired from here. Oops. So let's place somewhere here. And now the only thing that's remaining is to put some redstone dust here. And if I activate the pressure plate, you can see this works. You can even hear clicking of these getting activated, but that is not a problem. And last but not least, let's test that it works. I'm going to use my disposable shulker boxes. Of course, you do not want to shoot shulker boxes because there is nothing to pick them up, so they would despawn. So do not do that. Choose something that you can actually miss, or that you won't mind that disappears. So now let's destroy this leaf. You could see that it shot. Let's rebuild it. It shot again. Let's destroy this. You could see it clicked. Let's destroy this. It clicked. Let's destroy this. It clicked. I could test them all, but it works. I have tried this again and again, and it works. Now you could just copy it, paste it here to have the bottom, to have the back, paste it here, and you would have the entire base finished. So now, what if you want to expand the width of this base? Well, let's see these blocks. By default, when you have the 2 rows, you would have the blocks look like this, and here you have the grass blocks. Now, you're going to have to make concessions if you want to spread the base. The reason for that is you need to fill the space in between. For example, if you try to spread it by 1 block, you're going to have to fill the space with a block here, and then have an observer read those blocks. However, this is the only odd number of rows you can expand it. When you expand it by more than 1 row, you need to have it even, because, for example, let's say now I have 3 rows. I have the problem that I mentioned. The distance here is 1 from these blocks and these blocks. So if I destroy one of them, nothing happens. Therefore, unless I have an observer at the bottom, these blocks could get destroyed without any issue. So you need to have an even number of blocks. Now that we have 4, these are, these are 1, 1, 1. So now whatever here gets destroyed, all other blocks will change, and the observers will read that change. If I destroy this block, you can see this observer blinks. Etc. Now, if you want to create a base that is at the sky, you would create the same design except maybe for the ceiling, because in many servers there is a hard-coded limit at y equals 250, which you cannot go over. So you would not have the ceiling, instead the sky would serve as the impassable ceiling. However, at the ground level, you would not need to create the same design. Instead, the design would look more like this. This is just a concept, it is not totally the best design, but just for illustration it serves well. As you can see, it is much wider, and the reason for that is it does not use any floor. In fact, you'll use the y equals 4 floor without any issues, or y equals 5, I don't know right now. The only thing you need to take care of course, except for the ceiling, which is now making full use of the full length of the chain, is the enemy getting there from the side. And for that, there are these locks. Now, these locks usually do not need to be placed everywhere. They only need to be placed in such places where you can pass under the bedrock. So they are only there to stuff the bedrock holes. For example, if I go to our new hole, which is right here, this would be completely harmless. This is a hole, but there are no free blocks in front of it, so I cannot get out of here without jumping, so whatever is here would block, and hence, if I had an observer with any block, I'd need to destroy it anyway. However, this bedrock does not have anything underneath it, so that means I can sneak underneath it with the help of the trapdoor. If I trap myself underneath, as you can see, I am underneath the bedrock, and now I can easily sneak into the base, or into the imaginary base, and wreak some havoc there. For that, of course, there are the wooden locks. It would be placed somewhere here. Here you would have the leaves, and then the observer, which would detect if you destroyed this wooden log. So now let's get to some building. Now, as you can see, this design looks a little bit different from the previous one, and the reason is the previous one had some design flaws that this has fixed. This is the more optimized one. Let's pretend that these grass blocks and dirt blocks are bedrock, because they are more visible on the bedrock than the bedrock itself, and they are showing a couple of interesting things. So first of all, let's go here. Now, as you can see, this observer has a bedrock underneath and a bedrock here, so that means I do not need to place an oak block, because I cannot get to this block. I cannot get to this block down there without destroying this first. So I can simply place whatever here. As for here, there is once again a bedrock underneath the observer, so even if I destroy this, I still cannot pass through, and I cannot destroy the observer without destroying this block first, so no issues there. However, here the bedrock is one square behind the observer, and that is already too far. Because if I have a block here and nothing there, then I can simply crawl underneath using the trapdoor, destroy this, not destroy this, destroy the observer, and then cause mayhem in the base. So here I definitely need an oak lock. So a simple way to decide whether you need an oak lock or not is whether you have a bedrock underneath the observer, or whether there is some way to destroy the block underneath it without destroying the block at the front. So now let's continue. And now here I am at the blind spot, and as you can see there is some bedrock. You need to remember that both sides have to be at the same level, and also that the bedrock needs to be counted in because the height of the oak block will depend in your calculation. For this one case I'm going to demonstrate it practically. As for here, from this side of course there is a bedrock here, so by the rule presented here, from this side it means that you do not need to place an oak block here, because from this side I cannot get to the block here without destroying this. However, there is no bedrock here, so that means I can still get in from the side, so I need to place the oak block just to be safe from the side too. Now let's finish this, and let's go to the roof. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oops. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now these are 1, 1, so this needs to be 1, 2, or 1 as well, so not confuse you. 2, 3, 4. And now, of course, this is 2, this is 2, so that means if I want to make this a 2, I have a problem, because 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I have already placed 6 blocks and cannot place the 7th one because it would be completely pointless. So you need to remember that this oak lock cannot go up, cannot go to side either, and cannot even go down because there is this chain, so they would be disrupted. So this is a forced place for the block where to be, which means that of course they need to meet in the middle. So 0, 0, 1, 0, 1. These two chains are not disrupting each other, so I can easily finish them. However, this is not true from this side. If I quickly make the roof from here, that was ugly, but whatever. So 0, 1, 2, oops, 3, 4, 5, 0, 1, 2, 4, 4, and now 0, 0, 1, 1, and 2. This 2 receives the 1 from both of these blocks, which is of course bad. So you should definitely think before you build here. Anyway, the last thing to cover would be the entrance. How do you enter this castle? Well, of course, since you have droppers everywhere, the easiest solution to offer is to simply decide which one of the observers will be a dummy observer. You can simply do that by destroying the observer the observer, the dropper. And of course, afterwards, when you need to enter, then you simply build a trapdoor. After you destroy the observer, build a trapdoor, sneak underneath, destroy the trapdoor, and then rebuild the observer again from this side to close this entrance, or rather to hide it. As you can see, if there were some building blocks all around, you would not know which one of these observers is the dummy. And considering how many observers are there, the chance you choose one true observer or one dummy observer is definitely rather small. So that would be it for this video, and I'll see you in the next video, I guess. Bye bye.